That can never happen. Something that we preppers hear all the time. That'll never happen. They will find a way out of it. That's impossible. Right, right. You know, you tell people about food rationing during World War II and the Great Depression. Those things that were rationed back then were sugar, coffee, meat, fish, butter, eggs, and cheese. So, going through the food chain, the only thing left is vegetables. Vegetables were not rationed, and that is the truth. Also, as you know, a lot of people started victory gardens, and fortunately here in the United States, we were able to get our vegetable food production up to a complete 40%. So we did not have to import, or we had to import 40% less vegetables than we did during pre-war times. A lot of people are always, preppers especially, are going to be on this journey to self-sufficiency. For some people, that's living off grid. For some people, that is creating your own homestead to support your family through their dietary needs, I guess you could say. And on a personal level, I don't really think that it is possible in this day and age to be 100% self-sufficient. You can be very, very close, but I don't think that it's 100%. My personal goal is to be 75% self-sufficient within the next 2 to 3 years. And these are just a few of the things that I wanted to sort of give you an idea, just make you think outside the box of how that can be accomplished. During the recent food shortages, hunting licenses and fishing licenses skyrocketed. Yes, there is a fear that food will not be available, and a lot of people think that they are going to be able to go hunting and fishing for their food. That is if you have experience. However, if you go to a wilderness area to go hunting, legally to go hunting, and it's just you and maybe 1 or 2 other hunters, and you're all hunting for the, food or deer, it's usually deer, it may be to the point where you are competing with 500 other people in the same wilderness area aiming for the same animals. That if you're being safe, good for you, but that can lead to some safety issues. But also, I think that a lot less attention is given to something a lot easier. So just as an example, through money saving frugality, stuff like that, a lot of us go to the library, right? And a lot of us will have some books that we like to keep on hand for reference. For the majority of the time, we like to just go to the library and rent a book. I mean, why pay for a book and keep it on hand just to clutter up your house if you can have somebody else store that for free? So it sort of goes the same with self-sufficiency. A lot of people will get chickens as their first primary source for protein. I should say protein. You have a couple chickens, they give you eggs every day, you have protein. Never mind the fact that eggs are high in cholesterol and it's not a complete source of all of the vitamins and minerals that you need. That is neither here nor there. I've had chickens. It was a interesting experience. Not sure if I would want to go that route again in the future. However, one of the things is, why go out, and there may possibly be some sort of gas shortage coming up. I mean, that could never happen. I think 2020 is just like the year that we all want to forget, isn't it? Where everything that we thought couldn't happen has happened. Pandemic, we're pretty much in like an economic depression or collapse, at which we have not seen in our lifetime for the majority of us. Anyway, that's again neither here nor there. So why go fishing and why go hunting if you can have that at your house at your disposal? What I mean by that, I've seen a lot of people grow tilapia farms, and you can do that in a 50-gallon barrel depending on the climate and where you live. But however, I did get a really great idea from J0, who is no longer with us as a YouTuber. He's still alive. I don't mean he's no longer with us, but he stopped doing YouTube. And he was one of my biggest inspirations way back in the day. And what he did is he raised chickens and rabbits for meat, and he went fishing all the time. Chickens, again, maybe, but anyway. But rabbits are an amazing meat source, and I don't understand why they're not offered in grocery stores more often. You know, the term "they breed like rabbits" does come from the fact that rabbits breed all the time. You know, you can have 9 or 10 in a litter, and they can produce that 3 times per year with just one doe and one buck, or one boy and one girl. So, and they each can be raised to about 5 or 6 pounds. So if you think about it, a rabbit is the same size as a chicken. Imagine having 30 chickens in your freezer every year. Break that down into weeks, 52 weeks in a year. So you get a rabbit every week and a half. And it's a 5-pound rabbit. You take a 5-pound rabbit every week and a half, which is 10 days. So you have a half a pound of meat per day, and it's at your disposal. If you're keeping it in your backyard, it's right there. Nobody wants to kill the Easter bunny. I mean, of course you would have to slaughter and clean it yourself, and I don't want to kill the Easter bunny, but I will do whatever I have to do if food no longer becomes available, or if food becomes so expensive that I can't afford it. And as you know, we're already at the pretty much breaking point of where the American population can no longer feed themselves. They can't afford to feed themselves. 1 in 6 Americans are on food stamps, and that is pre-pandemic. That is pre 40 to 50 million people becoming unemployed. So it's only gotten worse, and it's only going to continue to get worse until our economy comes back to normal. I do want you guys to do your research if you can on Cuba peak oil documentary. Go ahead and look that up on YouTube. Watch the entire thing. They went from, I believe it was like 14 million barrels a day down to 4 million barrels per year. They were no longer able to do imports or exports of oil, and they had to redo all of their soil because they were working a huge amount with fertilizer, commercial fertilizer, and things that were damaging the soil. And they were pretty much either you fix this and you fix it now, or you starve as a country. And now Cubans are some of the healthiest people on earth. Their diets have greatly changed. They've lost weight. They're much more fit, much more into a outdoor type lifestyle. And when a negative can be turned into a positive, it can turn into a great learning experience for us preppers. I'd also like you guys to look up food rationing during World War II, and you'll see people using the ration cards and the coupons. That's something really to look into. But in the UK, people were asked by the government to produce rabbits for food, and that actually became almost a business in itself. And a lot of places right now will not allow rabbits in order for slaughter. However, rabbits are incredibly stealth, incredibly quiet, and also incredibly easy to slaughter and clean for eating. They also make very good eats. A lot of people will talk about protein poisoning, and that kind of makes sense if you're hunting wild rabbits who have no fat on them. But if you're living in an area where you can incorporate other fats, butter, vegetable oil, you're going to be fine. And especially if you're going fishing, that's going to be amazing. For me personally, it's just me and Rocky. It's me and my mister, who is napping in the background. So having 2 chickens, 2 girl chickens who produce 1 to 2 eggs per day, and having 1 male and 1 female doe rabbit would more than meet both of our needs. If we can just add something else like rice, adding rice to the rabbit, that would work for us. And I think that that's something that, as a country, with the circumstances that we are facing right now, it's something that I think we need to look into a little bit further. As most of you have heard, Kim Jong-un in North Korea is confiscating people's pets to have them slaughtered and used for meat. So in 1994, there was a huge famine in North Korea where people actually resorted to cannibalism, and died of starvation. And that's not something that we want to see in our country. So I would, highly recommend of thinking outside the box. Not necessarily. I don't want to say don't go hunting and don't go fishing. I'm just saying that in addition to hunting and fishing, maybe you should consider some chickens or rabbits. And this is also something, if you live in an apartment, you can also do the rabbits. They don't take up a lot of space. They don't stink. Their pellets are dry. Very good for the garden. And also something that I am looking into right now is hydroponics. I did order a very small 4-foot by 3-foot 4-tier hydroponics system, which has 120 slots for growing my own vegetables. Here in the desert, the soil is very poor, and it would just take too much amendment and too much money in order to make the poor soil good. And I know you're going to say wood chips, check out some guy's channel, check out this, check out that. I've already checked it out, and termites are an issue in the area that I live, so wood chips are not an option at this point. So I'm just looking into some ulterior things, and I will have some really great footage for you guys in the coming months. So I hope that you will stay tuned for that, and I can show you my hydroponic system. And also, if that works out, because it's just an experiment system, then I will be building an entire 40-foot 4-tier hydroponic system in my backyard, and you'll be able to see that as well. Do what you can with what you've got. Prepper Princess out.